What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today's video is brought to you by broccoli. Why broccoli? Well, broccoli is one of those things where you can't really argue about whether or not it's good for you, whether or not it is a healthy thing. Broccoli is universally considered something that your system needs and that is good for you. Anybody that were to say that broccoli is not good for you, you tend to shy away from their opinions on anything else in general. But we're not really here to talk about broccoli today. What we're here to talk about is the Protech Rockeye. And the reason that I made that awkward and probably not very humorous transition is because Protech is to the knife world as broccoli is to the health world. And by that I mean very few people will disagree that Protech makes probably the best side opening automatic knives. Let's talk about that for a second. I'll go ahead and open this because, like I've said before, I hate it when YouTubers just go on and on and on about their knives and they don't actually open it and show it. So, automatics. Automatic knives are not assisted opening knives. Automatic knives are knives that are deployed with some sort of mechanism. In this case, there's a firing button right here. A lever, a switch, a firing button, that's an automatic knife. An assisted knife like the Kershaw Blur that I showed in a video the other day has a torsion bar or some sort of spring that engages when you push up on the thumb stud or flipper or whatever device is used there. So there is a difference between that and a switcher mechanism. The world of automatic knives, and I'm going to tell a story and I'm going to talk and do what I usually do, but there are two big names in the world of, just about cut myself there, world of automatic knives. These are going to come as no surprise to knife guys. Microtech, which is notorious for producing probably, and you know, maybe some people disagree with me, probably the world's best OTFs or out the front switchblades or automatic knives. And Protech, which is, from what I've read, notorious for producing the world's best side opening automatic knives. So, going to be difficult to do this with one hand today, but a OTF switchblade will have some sort of lever here or here, possibly a button, where when deployed, the knife will come straight out the front and not out of the side like you saw there. Let me tell you a quick story about why automatic knives bother me a little bit, and it has nothing to do with the knife or the mechanism itself, other than that they are generally viewed as weapons, which is unfortunate. You know, they're viewed as weapons by people who are not knife people and by people who are knife people and just want something cool, and that's just unfortunate. My experience is one here recently that it just really bothered me. We have I'm sorry about the lighting in here, guys. I'm doing a tabletop review at my house. We have a lounge in our dealership, like many dealerships, where people wait. And there's a TV in there, and there was a game on. I want to say KU was playing basketball that day, and I was standing in there. And I was standing up, and there was a gentleman sitting down in the lounge, and he said, "What kind of knife are you carrying?" And it kind of took me off guard, but I had my XM18 in my pocket. And like any knife guy, I love opportunities to show my knives off. I pulled it out, and I should have realized what was happening was he didn't really care about what was in my pocket. He wanted an opportunity to show me what was in his pocket. And he said something along the lines of, "Do you want to see a really cool knife?" And I thought, oh boy, here we go. And he pulled out a Smith & Wesson automatic knife, a push-button switchblade. I'm not one to just automatically start coming down on somebody. The guy clearly enjoyed it. I wasn't going to pick the knife apart. But for those of you who don't know, Smith & Wesson, it's a great example there. Smith & Wesson is a company known for producing, I believe, fairly high-end USA manufactured firearms. However, their folding knives are not of the same caliber. For those of you who don't know, Smith & Wesson knives are made in Taiwan or China and have the appeal of tactical. We're going to talk about that knife in a later video. But that's the problem. And I realized switchblades or automatic knives in general have this draw to them that leads people to believe that they are just better in general than folding knives. A folding knife is here and a switchblade is here, and because it's an automatic knife, it is just a better quality knife, or only used by law enforcement or only used by military. No, that's not how that works. Just like folding knives that are manual, there are low end, made in China, made in Taiwan, Pakistan, and then there are high end USA manufactured automatic knives. So now that I've got that out of the way, let's talk about Protech. Protech's been around for 17 years. This was my first Protech. It no longer belongs to me. It belongs to our one of our service managers, Steve. So Steve, thank you for lending this back to me. I had to get my hands on a Protech so I could see for myself, and then I sold it to Steve. I do 100% agree with the rest of well, let's talk about where I got that opinion. On blade forums, if you are to search Protech knives, you'll come across a forum where somebody asked about the quality of a Protech knife, and it is to this day the only thread I have ever seen where every single comment on every single page, and extensive, I think there's 15 to 20 pages, everybody was positive about it. Everybody said basically the same thing. They're very well made. They're made in the United States. They're a premium cutting tool. You're not often going to experience failures. They use premium crucible powder metallurgy steel. Awesome. I didn't, up until about a year ago, I didn't know that. So I got my hands on this Protech, and the reason I chose this one, let's talk about this. This is the Protech Rockeye automatic knife in CPM 154, as you can see right there. CPM 154 is, of course, Crucible's version of 154 CM, which is, if you talk to the real hardcore knife guys, I think CPM 154 or 154 CM is probably the most preferred steel, because it's a perfect combination of edge resiliency or edge retention, added corrosion resistance, toughness, and ease of sharpening, I think, is the main one here. If this looks familiar to you at all, and you are into mid-techs, you probably already know this. This is a Les George design after his VECP, or VCEP as some people say it. It is extremely similar, if not exactly the same. I want to say the VCEP is probably a little bit bigger. Same exact blade design, classic drop point. The handle is exactly the same. This is an extremely attractive knife to me. This is what I would consider an all-business folding knife. You have a very simple handle design, very simple blade shape, very common blade shape. You've got a great steel. You've got jimping up at the top here, which is actually functional versus, surprisingly, the Les George actual mid-tech version of the knife has non-functional jimping. And then my favorite thing, you have a 2/3 or 3/4 texturing right here on the 6061 T6 aluminum handles, and then you have a false bolster. This is super attractive to me, and I'll tell you why I like this. The other side's smooth. There's that clip I like. 3-hole Benchmade style or Emerson style clip with that divot right there. Here's why I think that's awesome. Texturing on this side, when the knife is folded, and you've got it, let's get it in my pocket here. You've got it in your pocket, like this. Pinch here. Your thumb is on the side that is textured, while the smooth side is rubbing against your pocket. So you still get the benefit of the texturing pulling it out, but this does not destroy your pocket. So, great, perfect. I wish they were all like that. In fact, if I could get my Hinderer with the exact same texturing up here, have a smooth bolster, I just like that. I would go for that. So, anyways, what makes Protech better than the other cheapy automatic knives out there? Well, USA manufacturing is always a plus. Read into the company a little bit. They've been around for 17, 18 years. They do everything in small batches. They have models for a little bit, then they don't have them, and then they bring them back, and they do different, there's different variations of this, all smooth. You can get stone washed or polished up here. This is a true DLC coating, not paint. A bunch of different stuff. They even make super high-end versions of these that are steel handle for some reason. I don't know why they do that. I'm not sure why there aren't more automatic knives made in titanium for that matter, but most of the ones you see out there are in aluminum and 154 cm. I would imagine because it probably costs more to produce an automatic knife in the United States, and so they have to keep the cost down to get people to spend the money on these. Maybe because aluminum and 154 is a little bit less expensive versus everything else in there. I'm not really sure. Anyways, this has a heavy-duty coil spring in here, and this is called a plunge lock. These are hand-fitted, to my understanding. The blades are CNC, and obviously, these are machine-produced, but still mostly in-house and then hand-fitted to make sure that everything is correct before they go out for sale at the retailers. So these are, professionally made in-house in the United States. And they are hand inspected to make sure that they function properly. I've handled a lot of other more premium automatic folding knives, none that kick as hard as a Protech, and I'm not the only one who's going to say that. Benchmade has that AFO2. I know Gerber has a nice USA automatic. I've handled those. Microtech LUDT. These Protechs kick hard. If they all kick like this, I mean, man, these things have some recoil on them. Definitely cool. Not necessarily, necessary, but it feels like quality. So that's pretty cool. But the way that this plunge lock works, as you push in on that plunge lock, there's a cylinder in there that disengages from the blade tang and allows you to close it. And then the blade closes and locks back into a latch on the also on the plunge lock, and then the plunge lock comes back up and locks the knife. So as soon as you push the plunge lock down, it releases the blade, and that coil spring inside the pivot fires the blade out. They are on phosphor bronze washers. Whatever Protech is specifically doing to make it fire that hard, I don't know if it's just the coil spring or if it's the combination of the coil spring on phosphor bronze washers with their tolerances being probably near perfect. I don't know, but it feels awesome. And when it locks up solid. And that is not something that is common with automatic switchblades. Usually it's it's to be expected. Even on a $200 switchblade, which is what this is roughly, they're anywhere from what I've seen, 170 to 220 bucks. So premium knife, they're expensive. The real ones are expensive. A $20 automatic knife is not just, wow, it's a great deal and it's made exactly the same, and why would anybody spend $200? No, these are made better, period. That's just how it is. If you have a $20 automatic knife and you enjoy it, then that's fine. I'm not knocking on you. Just letting you know, there's a difference. There is. Big difference. These last longer. They're made better. They're made with more premium materials. Anyways, but I don't know if it's some combination of all those things making that thing fire out so perfectly and lock up perfectly, but it does. It locks up hard, and this is a hard use tool for an automatic switchblade. I use this when I put my Christmas lights up, those little plastic mountings that you stick under your shingles and put the light bulbs in. Well, the holes weren't big enough, so I had to slice every single one of them. And I'm talking, like 100 of these thick, hard plastic things. This knife went right through it, no edge damage at all. Steve has been using it. You can see here he's got snail trails all over it, marks on the blade. That's not the DLC coating coming off. More likely, the hardness of a true DLC coating it's so hard that when you cut through material, likely marks on the material are more so the material you're coming in contact with being ground against the DLC coating and not this actually coming off. So that's what that looks like. But he uses it all the time. He's very happy with it. He hasn't needed to have it resharpened or anything like that. But when it comes time, he'll be thankful that it's in CPM 154 for that reason. So really, really cool. The way that this, the back of the spine engages back here, it is on a stop pin that is very large. You can see that stop pin there. So when you fire it, whoops, open it against my table there. When you fire it, it fires against that stop pin, locks up hard. It's also shouldered. Let's see if I can show this. See how it's rounded right there? So that when it engages, it's not a flat contact point. It's rounded or shouldered so that it wraps all the way around that stop pin for engagement. And the plunge lock locks it out. So you've got 2 points sandwiching the blade there, and there's no vertical or horizontal blade play whatsoever. Locks out hard. It's got a nice lanyard hole in the back here, regular size lanyard hole. It's just 2 thick pieces of 6061 T6 aircraft aluminum for the handles there. It does feel very nice in hand. This is my size of knife. In fact, the Les George VECP was a hard contender versus this one for my everyday carry after I'd been collected for a long time. Had they had some other steel options and maybe offered it in a flipper, I would have changed my mind. Some people disagree with me, but that's besides the point. But anyways, if you're looking for a well-built, premium, automatic push-button switchblade knife, or any side-opening automatic knife for that matter, look no further than Protech. And if you don't believe me, go online and see what people say about them. There is a huge difference between a lesser quality automatic knife and an American Protech automatic side opener. These are excellent cutting tools. They will serve you well for a long time. Of course, the general idea is more parts, more opportunities to fail. But if you absolutely do have to have an automatic side opening knife, definitely go with Protech. 100%. That's not to say that the Benchmade versions and the Microtech side opening automatics aren't good choices. But if I had to make a choice based on the ones that I had handled, I think the Protech version's a no-brainer. Plus, if you really do have to take these apart, again, it's like I talked about yesterday with Ricky's knife. You've got a single Torx head over here, and then you have long body screws, just 2 on this side. They go all the way through and screw into the other side of the handle. So pretty easy to take apart. I wouldn't recommend taking one of these apart. They're built to function without having to clean out. You can get in there with some air and just blow that out if you really need to. But if you know what you're doing, take these apart and clean them out. If you need to. Great product. Definitely usable. Definitely fills out the hand. You can see here in this position here. Would have been nice to see a choil, but you do get more cutting edge with this. So reasonably thick, probably, gosh, the lighting in here, I'm so sorry. Probably 0.14, 0.15. Not as thick as the XM18, but certainly a reasonable thickness for everyday cutting tasks, things like that. Does slice pretty well too. Drop point's always a good way to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if I was a little bit preachy. I was just still kind of rattled by that experience I had with that guy. And again, I'm not going to knock anybody for carrying a less expensive knife. Less expensive knife, even if it's not premium steel, it is still a folding knife that is utilitarian, that you can sharpen and cut things with. My questions are more so in terms of how safe are they? How well are they designed? How likely are they to accidentally disengage and cut your finger versus, all the bells and whistles and things like that. I trust a more expensive knife. I'd rather pay $200 for an expensive knife than pay $250 or $300 at the hospital after I cut my finger with a less expensive one. So that's just my thought. You don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. I try to do regular uploads, and I've got other things for you to check out. So please do check those things out. If you want to leave a comment, if you share the same opinion of me, or if you disagree with me, that's also fine. Please comment. I really enjoy talking with people in the comments section, so please go ahead and do that. But anyways, that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of the day.